Hello, and welcome to this Christian Walk podcast, the show where no topic is too taboo to empower you on your walk with God. I'm your host, Marley B., and it is my privilege to welcome you back to the conversation. Today's conversation is all about two dynamic women of God who are on a mission. They are actually on a mission trip. This past summer, they went to Nigeria on a medical mission to help people who are in dire need. And they came on the show to tell the TCW family all about that experience. We had a great conversation. So let's get into it right now.
Walk with me, talk with me. What you know about God? Will He ride with me? Come and open my eyes for me. Hear my story. Show me more what's in store. And once more, listen, homie, can you walk?
All right, Samantha and Trish, welcome to this Christian Walk podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
What the heck? Look, Trish welcoming me to the show. I like it. That's my first time getting welcome to the show. I like it. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Trish. Thank you. But ladies, thank you so much for being here. This conversation, I was definitely looking forward to it because today we're going to not just talk about life experience, which we do on this show. Trish, I know this is your first time on here. Samantha, she's been on before, but this Christian Walk is just a safe place where we can discuss what it's like living as a Christian, and we try to be honest about the perils of it and the blessings that are in it, so that people can learn from our experiences and feel that, and relate to them. It's a safe place, no judgment, where we can, do that, discuss our faith. And I felt like you guys had an experience that everybody that is, even considering or in the Christian faith should know about, which was you guys went on a mission to Nigeria this past June. And how long were you guys there? Like a week?
I don't know, a week and a half?
12 days, I think 11, 12 days. So, yeah.
I think that is pretty awesome. It is something that is rare. It's something that people need to, know about. But before we get into, you guys actually going, I'm gonna give you a chance to tell a little bit about yourself, say hello, just say a little bit about yourself, where you're from, so people can get a little background from you. Let's start with you, Sam.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Samantha Deloche. Like, Marley said earlier, this is my second time being on the show. So if you haven't watched my previous episode, you need to run it back, go find it. But I am a pharmacist, but I call myself the modeling pharmacist because I model, I'm a motivational speaker, and I just try to encourage people that basically a model is a mindset. So, you have to have a mindset of just living excellent every day. So that's what I try to do in missionary work as a part of that. But yes, I'm glad to be here again. And I live in Charlotte, North Carolina from Orangeburg, South Carolina. But yes, that's a little bit about me.
Nice. And Trish?
All right, my name is Trish Rice. And I think this is like my 11th mission trip that I've gone on. Yeah, I've been doing quite a few of them. I'm a mother, one child, one grandkid. And what else about me? I don't have a medical background, so I was kind of curious that I would do a medical mission. And so that's one thing I said on the outset. You don't necessarily have to have all the pieces. You got to have a willing heart and get in where you fit in. So that's me.
Yes. So, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, Trish, because this particular mission was a medical missions trip, but there's all kinds. And now you mentioned that you've had 11 trips that you've been on. And Sam, how many mission trips have you been on? I know you've been on at least one other one.
Yeah, I've been on, this one would make 3 total. I've been to Guatemala, that was my first one. Then I went to Dominican Republic, and then this one to Nigeria. So this was my third one.
Wow. And what other places have you been to, Trish?
In addition to those, Itabina, I also do missions with women who are incarcerated. So on the outskirts of Charlotte, there are like 5 women facilities in North Carolina. So at least 15 women get to come from each facility and have a 3-day retreat, uplifting, kind of building them back up, getting them ready to be released. But unfortunately, after the 3 days, they go back to incarceration. But at least they have that reprieve where they can get poured into for 3 days. And so I've been doing that minus the COVID years. I did about the fourth one. So the end of this month, I'll do one more.
And where was that one that you did the outreach for the prison mission?
It's in Sophie, North Carolina. They don't allow us to say much about that one because these are women who are incarcerated and they don't. Yeah. We do have guards there, so if someone wants to, yeah. So it is highly, the information is guarded, but it's in Sophie, North Carolina, on a campground. I can say that.
Nice. And I think that's important to know, because when you think of mission, a lot of times you think you have to go to another country. And it's good to know that the service of missions can happen within your community, or you don't feel like you have to go all the way to another country to be a part of a mission. So that's something that I learned right there. So I appreciate you letting me know about that and letting us know about it. But as far as, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit different doing it in an environment with all women, in an environment where, you're doing like an outreach for women that's about to make that transition out to somebody that going to another country. Now, you guys were on a mission trip. Now, you say you don't have a medical background. I know that, Sam, you are you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist. And so how did you end up, Trish, being a part of the medical mission? Like, what part did you play?
I was more administrative. I was the assistant to the medical director. They gave me this term, and I ran with it. And really it encompasses, you not only just need the medical staff, you need that support staff. You need people who take patients from one room to the next. You need folk who just change beds. You need, I was able to work in the office and really transpose some written documents to digital, just kind of upgrading some of their systems and the way that they do things. So like I said, it's just a willing heart. And when you get there, there is a place for you, if you're willing to work, there's some work.
Yeah. And
you don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a nurse. You can be a lay person and make up beds and clean and,
Wow. And then, and I already know what you was doing over there, Sam. You were, over there running the pharmacy but so how was that? Like, just in the, getting ready to go over there. What was that like?
Well, I wasn't actually running the pharmacy, but I was working in the hospital pharmacy and helping providing the medications that they were needing for the surgeries, a lot of antibiotics and a lot of pain meds. And just for people who weren't getting surgery, but just getting their medication before they left the hospital, I was helping with that. But as far as my preparation, I got all the medical supplies that we needed, and we actually mailed them from Charlotte to Nigeria, just because of the weight and the cost it would have been to have to mail all that stuff, or having even to carry it in our luggage would have been overwhelming for us to pack our stuff and, have the medication. So I, definitely played a part in that. So I got the medications together, and it was a different experience. I'll say I've done where you do community pharmacies where we actually go out to the community. We did do that the last day, but initially, the majority of the time I was in the hospital setting. So that was my first time experiencing that. So it was just a difference, even in pronunciations. I always jokingly ask everyone, and I'll do it for you too. I'm gonna say this term and you'll see if you can figure out what I'm trying to say. Nemosalin. What medication am I saying, or what am I trying to say? Nemosalin.
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't. All my answers gonna be ibuprofen. So you might as well just give me the.
Well, I wasn't saying that. But a lot of people thought that I was saying amoxicillin, amoxicillin, which I could get. That's what I thought they were saying to me, the nurses, but they were really saying normal saline. So instead of saying how we say normal saline, they were saying normal saline. So it's like nemosalin. So that's how they pronounce it. So it was a little bit of a, I guess you could say, not necessarily a language barrier because they spoke English, but accents, and it was different, having to adjust and learn how they name medications because they have different names for it. It's the same active ingredient, but it's just different names. So I had to kind of feel my way into pharmacy and figure things out. So it was a little bit of a learning curve initially, but it was a wonderful challenge to experience because I definitely got out of my comfort zone in that environment.
And if you thinking that they saying one thing and they saying another, that can be catastrophic. So I'm sure that was a challenge. Now, when you think about, preparation, a lot of times you think, okay, did it take some kind of shots? What was your preparation to get ready to leave home? You have a full, like you said, Trish, you're a mom. You have a you have a grandchild. You have, of course, a career, a home to take care of. What was it like, preparing to leave your home for a week and a half, 12 days, and go to another country to assist over there? Like, what was the process as far as like medications? Because at first I'm thinking, okay, was it some kind of vaccines that you need? I need to know all of that, because those are the type of things that keep people like, I don't know if I can do all of that. So let's start with you, Trish.
All right, definitely this trip had a lot of moving parts. I'm going to say that. You got to request your time off from work. And thankfully my job is one that accommodates missions trips. So I'm really blessed in that. They really help us a lot. There's vaccinations, you have to have several vaccinations. We had to, along with the COVID, you had to have had the COVID vaccination in order to be considered to go. So that was one. My daughter, they live away, so I didn't have that aspect to deal with, but you still have to have your home situated before you leave for that amount of days. What else did we do? It was spiritual training. It wasn't like one day we just jumped up and went. Our missions leader, we had every other week, we prayed. We taught Bible study, we received Bible study, and we fasted, so it wasn't like one day, like I said, you just go. No, it's spiritual training. It's getting your body ready, getting your mind together, just receiving information on what to expect and kind of adjusting your mind for that, the difference in culture. So definitely those things you have to consider.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sam?
Yeah, I'll kind of add or piggyback off what Trish said. Another vaccine that was optional but highly recommended was the yellow vaccine. So I, did get the yellow vaccine, and several of us went to a travel clinic in Charlotte and got the yellow vaccine. And the biggest thing that we did, and I know Trish will agree, was we had to get a visa. So that was our biggest headache. We had to literally go to Atlanta and do an interview. It was a lot of different money things you had to pay online. And a couple of us, I was one of them, my card got compromised just because, sometimes the websites and stuff dealing with Nigeria, it just kind of was a little bit of, unnecessary activity, but, we all were able to kind of get it resolved with our banks. But I think 2 or 3 of us experienced either some kind of crazy email situation, as well as, getting our bank accounts hacked. And then we had to actually, like I said, go to Atlanta to do the interview process. We had to get a passport picture taken again. We had to actually bring copies of our bank statements. Like, it was very, very detailed information we had to bring to that interview to get the visa. And we had to even bring a prepaid envelope for about $30 from the post office. They're very specific what we had to do so that they can mail us back our passport. So we had to leave our passport with them for like a few days, almost a week, and then they mailed it back. So I think for all of us, the biggest headache, or the biggest, portion that kind of was challenging in the preparation was getting the visa, because we all had passports, but none of us had ever been to Nigeria. And so that was required. And then we even had to fill out this long document online. We even met together at our dinner that we do before we leave to go to Nigeria to kind of talk and encourage each other last minute, making sure we got everything handled. We had to fill out this document online, which we'd have to show at the airport as proof that we did whatever we need to do, so that they could give us our boarding pass and ticket and everything. So it was very, very involved, that portion. I think the shot part was the easiest part. I'd take probably 5 shots compared to having to go through all the headache we had to go to. But I think that visa should last us at least 2 to 3 years. I can't remember, but I believe just 2 years. Okay, I couldn't remember.
So they told us 5, but it ended up being 2.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so we got a little bit of leeway where we can go back if we need to, without having to go through all those hoops. But that was definitely a big, like, wow, we gotta do all that. Yeah, you had to do all that.
So did you need a visa just because it was Nigeria, or because it was a missions trip? Because how come do they say why? Oh, so it's just because it's Nigeria.
Yeah, to enter that country, you have to have a visa. Like, certain countries have different stipulations. So some make it easier, because a lot of countries have it, but some you can just do it online, quick, maybe $100, not as involved. But that's just that country's requirement that anybody that was not born and raised here, you have to have a visa to enter the country. So yeah, didn't have anything to do with the mission. If we were going on vacation, we'd have to get a visa.
Get a
We
visa.
need a
Yeah.
visa. Wow. Well, okay. So what was the actual need? What was the need that you were going over there for? Because I know, you can, because I know that it is so much that could be served. It's so much serving opportunities, especially when you're looking for them. But was there a specific need that you guys were going to fulfill? Like, what was the condition? What was the need? What were you guys going to serve for specifically on this particular trip?
Specifically, it's a medical mission. Every mission that we go on, it is to share the love of Christ. We want to make sure that that's foremost what we do. But the mission was a medical mission. It was specifically for surgeries. Prior to us getting there were already patients selected that were going to receive those surgeries. The background work had already been done by other doctors. So this mission was a little bit different than it had a clinic attached to the hospital, but we were specifically there for the operations that were going to be performed that week.
What kind of operations were there?
Now, Sam, you may have for us, so I won't botch it up.
It was knee replacements, thyroidectomies. A lot of people had goiters, just because of the diet, they're not getting the iodine and the salt. So they had the big goiters, in the neck. Those had to be removed. Yeah. It was some neurologies, spinal surgeries. Back to the orthopedic, there were a couple of children who had polio or something with their legs where they weren't growing properly. So they had to have legs broken properly and put back in place so that they could, as they grow, the legs would grow right. I heard someone had a hysterectomy. So there were several things. The majority was the bones orthopedic, and you had the female neurology and a lot of thyroidectomies. I think they did about a good 50 thyroidectomies. Like, it was a bunch of thyroidectomies that were done that week, or maybe not 50, but I know a lot. I think the whole week might have been about 100 and so many surgeries. Yeah, that were done. So it was like specific, groups of surgeries that were done on certain classes, but those were the main areas.
Wow. So I know how the preparation was extensive. How was the flight? Was it? I know you got it's mission, so we know you didn't have a bed to lay on. So it was in coach. So
we weren't flying first class. No, we were definitely coach in the back. What was it, about 12 hours, Trish? 12, 14 hours?
About 12 and a half hours from Atlanta to Lagos. So we flew from Charlotte to Atlanta, and our flight was canceled in Atlanta. So we had this 8-hour layover. And then from there, 12 and a half hours from Atlanta to Lagos, Nigeria.
You guys was traveling, because I count from the time you leave your house, you travel. So y'all travel like a day and a half.
And now there's still another flight from Lagos to Warri, and then maybe about 45-minute ground transportation from Warri to Sapele, where we actually were going to be doing the work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So y'all travel about 2 days. 2 days.
Good 2 days.
Was that the longest that you guys ever traveled before?
For me, yes, that was my longest flight. Yeah. Well, Hawaii wasn't that far. I mean, it was long, but yeah, that was the longest flight I've been on to date. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Trish? The same?
That was the longest. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. Like, the 5.5. I need a walk around. I need a lap. I need to do a lap. So I don't know. I really want to go overseas, like really overseas, like Europe and things of that nature. But that flight, I don't know.
It's best to travel at night. If you board at 11, you're going to sleep most of it. You wake up in the morning, and then there's just a little left. Have some leg compression stockings on.
Right.
to help you.
Yeah,
definitely. The compression socks are definitely an investment in your peace of mind and health. And then, so what was a day like for you guys? So when you got there, you stayed in a hotel?
Yes.
Okay. So because I know it could be all kinds of situations. So I don't want to assume nothing, but what was like, what time did your day start, and what was it like? Let's do a day in the life of the mission in Nigeria. Go ahead, Trish.
Our first day, we normally go to church. No matter what country we're in, no matter what we're doing, we always start out service. And it's always optional, but we definitely start out with church. That was a little different. I think one of the things I thought there would be a problem with was language, but they spoke pretty good English, so we were able to understand and follow most of the message. They did take up quite a few offerings. That was different while we were there. But yeah, we start every mission off with church. So that particular Sunday, when we got to Sapele, it was church. During that service, a member of our team happened to mention why we were in the region, why we were there. And those folk went from that church service to the hospital/clinic, and it was overrun because people heard that we were there and they wanted help. So we started our mission Sunday night, not Monday morning.
Really?
We literally, one of the doctors said, need help, like 911. And we just boarded and just went over to where we're going to be working because so many people found out why we were there and they were trying to get in on it. Yeah. We started early. Yeah.
And so, you typically past the first day, what was like what was day 2 like, Sam?
Okay, yeah. Well, we got up, of course, in the morning. It wasn't too early. It was about 8 o'clock. It's I want to say it is like a 5-hour difference. Is that right? Time zone difference. So like right now, it's like midnight there.
Okay, so they ahead of us.
We didn't have to, it was a little bit of a jet lag getting adjusted to the time, but I'll just say quickly, yeah, they're ahead of us. Like get up too early to prepare per se. It was, still decent, had breakfast, then we'd go over to the hospital and then you work in your respective areas. So I went straight to the pharmacy. Everyone else went to their departments. And I would just say even the living arrangements weren't that bad. We were in a, kind of like a dormitory setting type hotel. That's what it felt like. I did have to share a bed. I was, wanting my own bed. Of course, you want your own bed, but I shared a bed. Some people had a room to themselves, but, the shower water wasn't too hot, but it wasn't too cold. Like overall, the only biggest thing I noticed that the power went out throughout the day, just because of how I guess the power grids are done. So maybe 2 to 3 times a day, you can expect the lights to go out in the entire building, and it may stay off for 2 to 5 minutes, or it might be longer. And that happened one time.
So they just have surges a lot, power surges.
Yeah. And it happened doing a surgery. They had to actually get flashlights to maintain the surgery, and then one person, they took them under, but they just had to bring them back because they didn't have enough time with the time that was down, from the power being out. So that was like maybe one of the kind of things you had to get used to. They told us when we packed our stuff to bring a flashlight with you because you didn't know when you might need it. So.
Wow. And then, so I know you guys did you get any, like, because I know, you got to visit like a orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, but those are things that you did as a group. Did you guys get to do anything like alone, or was that just not a safe thing?
It was not a safe thing. I think prior to us getting there, the Sunday before we left, there was a mass shooting that was probably a couple 100 miles away where 50 people were killed, and they just didn't feel like it was safe. So we were never allowed to go out unless we had an armed guard, and then we had some handlers. So we had a couple of hours in the market, but it wasn't like you could go off and explore. We barely made it to the market, and then we didn't get to stay very long. So we were never able to go out and explore. Most of our mission trip, you're not allowed to really just go out and roam about. You're there for that mission, and you got to understand that in a real way. It's not vacation at all.
Right. It's not vacation. Right. And I think that they do a good job with getting you guys' mindset ready. I'm sure that's really important with that preparation that they give you guys to get your mind and your heart ready to serve and not to lay out. This isn't me time. This is serve time. Right.
Exactly.
So did you find that you had real opportunities to share your faith? Because I mean, that's essentially what mission is supposed to do. It's a chance to share your faith and show your faith. And so did you feel like you got can you, I would want to know a specific time that you feel like, okay, I'm really doing what I came here to do right now. That's outside of the medical part of, as far as like sharing your faith. Can you name a time, Trish, where you felt like you did that?
Yes, we had several people, they welcomed prayer. They wanted words of encouragement. We had people, well, one individual lady who her blood pressure was too high for her to have surgery. So she was like, hey, call them, let them pray for me. So we were praying with people before surgery, after surgery, people who could not be helped, which I hate to tell people there's nothing we could do. And so we had one gentleman, he was 21 years old. And so as Amanda said, they were doing bone surgeries. We had some people who the bones were broken and readjusted so they can grow properly, but he was 21. And so at 12 o'clock, he came in and I was writing up what he wanted done. And he was told at 12 o'clock there was nothing we could do because he was too old. That type of procedure needed to be done when you are a baby. And his foot was literally up this way, if you could imagine. And so he had learned to walk on the heel. And he had the what do they call the polio? So he came in like that. So at 6 o'clock, he was still there. And we told him at 12. And so, we prayed with him. We talked with him a little bit after 12, but it just hurt my heart that 6 o'clock, he was still there. And I guess if he didn't get help then there would be no help because that type of surgery is not in that region, And his dad was there, and I know he felt bad because if you don't have food and you don't have money and you don't have a doctor that's performing that surgery, you can't get your child to that surgery. So I think he was very hopeful in coming, but there was nothing we could do. So we were able to pray, we were able to comfort, but he still stayed 6 hours later, and that just hurt my heart. I don't like telling people there's nothing that can be done because I'm a person, I'm gonna keep trying something different, And so I really hated that.
And I can imagine, when you go your whole life, getting used to that, and then you muster up enough hope to make it to you guys, and then get there and find out that there was no hope.
There's no
I
hope.
can't even imagine.
And then the doctor said it could make it worse. Someone goes in to try to do something, and the little bit of functionality you have now, you could lose that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was not worth trying to, practice on him or experiment, on him when he could get around hard, but he could still get around. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was a praying situation, but that also, when you pray with someone, they accept that, but then they're still going back home, so that was really tough.
And can you share a time where you felt like you were really out there ministering, Sam?
Well, I don't have an exact time like that. Again, I wasn't that close to patients. I just feel like I was able just to show God's love just in my kindness and just us being there, having a smile, just being friendly. I think a lot of times people have preconceived notions about Americans or just about, people in general. You don't know what to expect. And I, didn't know what to expect when I came in either, but I always just try to show kindness. I always try to be giving when I can. So I brought a lot of snacks with me. People know when I go on the missions trip, I bring like a whole suitcase of food because I'm a picky eater. So I don't want to take a chance. I go over there and don't have anything to eat. So I always bring stuff. So I would bring extra snacks with me to work. And so I would give stuff out. And, they would, gladly take it because, they're not necessarily used to the snacks that we have, in America and stuff. So I just always try to show kindness. I feel like showing love, showing kindness, that's definitely a way to, draw people to you and the light that is in you, that is, God. So.
And I would add that she did training as well, because as she stated, she shipped a lot of stuff over there, some of which they didn't know what to do with, and they were using it for other things. Right. And so she was able to go in and train and, do that in love. Because, we look at something and think it's just really simple. This is A, B, and C right here. And then when you look at somebody else, they got something else going on. So showing that love and that grace, she was able to train and show that grace as well.
And I'm glad that you brought up too, Sam's preconceived notions, right? Yeah. Because we know that people, how people can sometimes feel about Americans. And if nothing else, you go in knowing like, okay, I don't know how they're going to feel about Americans. So I'm wondering, what did you guys, what, if any, preconceived notions that you have going in? And, how do you feel about it now that you've been through it? Like, well, was it corrected? Were you right about anything, or was it just not what you expected? Let me know how that went. Let's start with you, Sam.
Well, it's about 50-50. And I really don't even want to like say it. I'm trying to find the cleanest way to say it or the best way to say it. But like I mentioned, there was some fraudulent activity that happened on, some accounts, just trying to get to the actual interview for our visas. So I will say that a lot of countries, and not just Nigeria, when they see Americans, they see money or they think that you have resources. So you just have to be a little more guarded, just because people try to come and take advantage, or they, kind of want something. So I will say it was a little bit of that maybe in the airport area. I won't say it was that necessarily in the city where we were, but just kind of the airport was what I expected to a certain extent, or just kind of certain, areas, they kind of warn you like, look, don't talk to anybody, don't give them anything, because they're going to want something. And you just don't want to put yourself in a jeopardy situation as far as your safety or the team and safety wise. So it was a little bit of that, but overall, I just felt like I wouldn't be able to communicate with everyone, or that it would, like Trish said, be a language barrier. And like I said, I had a little bit of that, but it wasn't that bad. I was able to overcome it, or after, a couple of days, you kind of can figure out the accents or what they're saying. Mm-hmm. And so I guess, more than anything, I would say I wasn't expecting to bond, or some of the people we work with. It was just more togetherness, more kindness, more love, more family feel than I expected. Just being in Nigeria in general, seeing that many Black people, together, working, living, it was a beautiful thing to see that many Black men and just how they carry themselves. I, thought there would be a lot of people needing help, a lot of needy, a lot of poor, but it wasn't that. They were working. It may not have been, to our level, I guess, financially, but they were taking care of themselves, taking care of their families. I love the fabric, the outfits, especially when we went to church that first Sunday, with a lot of couples that were dressed alike in the same pattern. So I just was just loving being around so many, Black people. And it was just kind of more of a carefreeness. Like some of the concerns that we have here in the United States are not the same concerns that they have, in Nigeria. Not saying that they don't have their own concerns of, for safety and just well-being. But I just really appreciated the Blackness, just our Black culture, our resiliency. And so I will say the majority of what I expected did kind of happen in certain levels, but I was able to get past those things and then really just embrace the warmth and the love and just the familyness, or the connection. I felt like we knew some of the people that we were working with for a long time, and we had just met them, but it just felt like this is going to be a lifelong connection. So.
What about you, Trish?
I suspected that we were going to need a translator. I think every foreign mission that we had, there was some type of translators involved. And one thing I came to know was that they speak English from grade 1. They take their classes, math, science, English, in English and in their language. So they are well versed, even though some of them got some of the subject verb agreement, they call it pidgin when they speak, they call it pidgin over there. They're speaking pidgin English, but I suspected that we would need a translator. We did not. We did have some pronunciations, but we understood each other for the most part. This was the first missions trip where we were actually served by one of our handlers. Normally we go work and we work, there are no comforts of home. But he did an excellent job serving us, and we had not had that. Whatever we needed, whatever we wanted, he made sure within reason it was possible. And we just had not really had that.
I get that. Yeah. So what did this mission trip teach you about yourself? It's something that, because I know you go in to help, but you can't help but be changed or have some kind of enlightenment with yourself. Spiritually, physically, personally, all of that. Professionally, even you got challenged in your professional life there, Sam. So I know there had to be some significant things that you just learned about yourself as a person, as a woman, as a Christian. So I'm interested in knowing what did you learn about yourself on in this mission trip. Let's start with you, Sam.
Well, I learned that I guess I'm more resilient than I give myself credit for. A lot of times you don't know what you can handle until you're actually put in that situation. So I just, learned that, you know, regardless of the circumstance, if you keep the right attitude, that you can make it through. So I learned that, I guess, about myself, and just that, there's a lot of need out there, but are you willing to, help, so I think it just kind of reaffirmed, my whole just journey into being a missionary or helping with missions, because I used to let fear stop me for a lot of things. Like I thought I would never, be on a mission trip, let alone this one. And to be honest, my mom did not want me to go to Nigeria. And so, it was kind of like, I felt like I was kind of pulling against, what she wanted, but still having that curiosity, just wanting to go to the motherland. So I just, learned that, sometimes you gotta not let your family or friends or what people think about what you should do control your decision. You got to trust your heart, pray, believe God. And I'm just very, very happy that I had the experience. I didn't let the fear or the, talk of other people distract me, and that I went. And then also another thing I learned, which is going to be kind of funny, back to the food situation, because I told you I brought my food. I brought enough food for the days that I thought we were going to be there. And we had a delay where we did not leave the very day that we thought we were. So I kind of was in limbo that last day and a half. So I learned practically that you need to always pack a little extra food or a little extra something, because you never know what can happen. So I said that lesson is going to hold me even stronger than that, because, the other stuff that I, learned about myself, because if you just are a picky eater, or just to be on the safe side, you just never know what can happen. So I think, that, was another learning lesson, go with the flow, to be flexible. We use the term fluid a lot. Our leader, Mama Pat, talk about being fluid, being able to adjust. So I had to learn to be fluid in the pharmacy. I just learned to adjust to, that wasn't necessarily my expectation of what I thought I'd be doing, but still allowing myself to be used and allow myself to help in some way, form, or fashion. So, learning that I could do it, learning how to do it with a good attitude, and again, learning how to make sure that I bring enough food to take care of it.
I know, I had to learn that too about underwear. So I get that lesson applies to many things. So I definitely understand that 100%, but I'm with you. I'm not the most adventurous eater, but I do need to eat. So I'm usually on my snack. So I feel you 100%. I am here. I feel that in my whole heart right here. So I get that 100%. So what did this mission trip teach you about yourself, Trish?
Then I have the ability just to see things to the end. There were so many different obstacles along the way where this is too much, or I'm just finding out about this. I'm like, oh wow, So the ability just to keep going, raising the money, getting the money to go, the vaccinations, you got to travel with medicine. So it's definitely, missions is something you got to be called to do. It's not a vacation. It's not a free trip. There's work, and just being willing to do the work. And like Samantha said, being very fluid, being flexible, because you may think you're going for one thing and you end up doing something totally different. And that's okay. So just the ability to see things to the end and let God work through me. Sometimes we think we should be doing one thing, but no, God's like, no, I just need you to do just one little thing. And that's okay. Being open to what God has for you to do.
That's amazing. Amen. First of all, let me just first start by saying amen, because that's the realest thing, because a lot of times God will call us to do stuff where it's like, you want me to do that? I'm not sure about that. It could be real easy to do that. I know it was just a few weeks before you guys went that a mission trip in Haiti, they had kidnapped all those people. And for you guys to not allow, and I know it's Haiti and then it's Nigeria. I don't want to just mix everything together, but I know kidnapping is not, that's something that can happen over there too. And so I commend you guys for overcoming that fear. We was definitely praying for y'all, because I know it had to be a lot to just, look fear in the face, and just really, this was a real faith leap. And so, I'm proud of you ladies for doing that. I love that, you guys diminish some real stereotypes about Black women going over there, living under those conditions, helping people, sharing a bed. I'll be like, share a bed? I'm not sure. I don't know. But that's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is next level when it comes to walking in faith. This Christian walk, when you want to get to the next step levels of your faith, and God asks you to do things, for you guys to be strong enough or so planted in you and your faith to say yes.
Yes.
That is commendable. And that's why I definitely feel like this is an important conversation, because when it comes to mission, it doesn't look like you just wait for it to be appeasing. You wait for the calling.
Right. Yeah.
You wait for the calling. And so that's a beautiful thing. So for a person out there who may be considering, doing missions trips, or, maybe feeling the call to do it or hearing the call to do it, but ignoring it. No, you ain't talking to me. That can't be right. You know what I'm saying? What would you say to those people? Let's start with you, Sam.
I would say, and we kind of touched on this earlier, start your mission work at home, because you don't have to go overseas to be a missionary. And I love that that's what we do here with our local missionary team at New Beginnings. We serve, locally, and we serve abroad. And that's a requirement too. I don't know if you actually mentioned it, but you just can't hop on a mission trip and not do anything locally in the Charlotte area. So we had about 4 different different activities set up for us to actually participate and serve. And you had to do at least 1 or 2 of them. And if not, you had to, give a reason why you couldn't, and something else had to be worked out. So I would say, get used to or get comfortable and just serving locally. Do you volunteer at your church when they say we need you to bring book bags for back to school? Did you bring a book bag? Because it's going to cost money to be a missionary and to serve, and your money is not necessarily for you, but to help other people. So are you doing the small things you can do? When they say Saturday morning at 8:00, we're meeting to do a homeless food drive or serve food at this soup kitchen, or to, help in some kind of way, shape, or form. Are you, 1, willing to share your money? And 2, are you willing to share your time? Because those are 2 big things that are needed for missionary service, for missionary work. Everybody sees the pictures, the end result, the smiles, they see the t-shirts, but they don't realize that it's a lot involved, a lot of sacrifices financially and time-wise that you have to be willing to give and commit. So I would say, at least for 6 months to a year, just try doing stuff, locally to serve, and to have your eye open to see, how can I help my community? How can I help my church? How can I help my sorority? How can I help my job? There are always, I think, opportunities to serve if you're looking for them, and just try to do that first. Then be ready to do something abroad, because abroad is a whole nother level of responsibility and financial costs and time. Like how Trish said, you got to take time off from work. Some jobs are okay with it, but I had to use my personal PTO. So most people would like to use their PTO to go lay on the beach somewhere, or to go to an island or have fun. I'm using my PTO to go serve and go actually work. So, you have to have the right mindset to be a missionary. Again, that was mentioned earlier. You have to have the mindset to know that I'm going to serve. I'm going to help people. It's not going to be comfortable. I may not like the food. I may not enjoy myself. I may, get offended. Somebody may say something to hurt my feelings, but am I going to hold a grudge, or am I going to be the bigger person and shake it off? So you got to really say no to self, die to self, and be willing to truly, truly help people, and not for a photo op, but this is truly, I want to, grow. I want to stretch myself. I want to really give back. I want to, have an impact. So that's my advice.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Definitely don't jump right in. Don't think you're going to jump right into Nigeria level. And that's not, that should never be your goal. I mean, to be your goal, fine, but your plan should not be to go straight to Nigeria. That definitely do something locally first. That's a great point, Sam. Thank you so much. And Trish?
I think she said it all, but I would add to it, make sure that you're called to do it. It's something that God told you, it can't be something I want to go, I'm just going to jump on board. And one thing about our missions team that I love, we serve each other. It wasn't that we went and we served some other people. We served each other as well as we served the folks in Sapole that we went. And so that's the biggest part. You can't go with this little individual mindset. It's definitely team. Working together, you really have to gel and get along with the folk on your team and get along with people. So God called you, prepare your spirit, your heart, your mind, not a vacation, but you can do it. That would be what I would say.
Amen. Well, there you have it, folks. It is a mission, not a vacation, and it takes a servant's heart. Ladies, God bless you for having no servant's heart. God bless you for coming on to the show and sharing your experiences. I once again said I'm so proud of you guys, and I think what you guys did was pretty extraordinary. So thank you so much for your service and just for your faith, for being God's hands and feet, because that's what y'all did. And thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. This was a great opportunity. I love coming on, and I'm glad Trish was able to come. I knew the minute you mentioned it to me, I was like, oh, Trish would be perfect to come as an addition. So yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity for us to share with this, experience, get behind the scenes, because a lot of people don't know what's behind the scenes, what's the work involved. So yeah, thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much to my guests, Samantha and Trish, coming on and sharing your experience about your mission to Nigeria. Truly an adventure, truly a blessing to be a blessing. If this conversation spoke to you, please like it, please share it. Definitely don't forget to comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to listen to our conversations on the go, you can definitely do that using Apple Podcasts as well as iHeartRadio. Now, when it comes to being a missionary, sometimes when you think about a missionary, you have like this picture, this stereotypical picture in your mind of what a missionary is. But guess what? Our God is no respecter of persons, right? If you're being called to missions, don't fight the calling, but understand that it is a calling. So if you're not being called, you're probably not supposed to do it. So really get in touch with God and find out if that's something that you're supposed to do. That is something that is not for the faint of heart, but I couldn't imagine being able to be out on an adventure like that and doing it in the name of God, being a blessing, spreading the word, and more than anything, being God's hands and feet. Samantha and Trish, hats off to you. And to anybody else considering it, definitely consider it hard, because it's going to take a lot. But it'll be worth it, I'm sure. And on this walk with God, I know one thing for sure. Loving God can be easy. Trusting God can be hard. But I believe we can all get there one step at a time on this Christian walk. See you next time.
Listen, homie, can you walk with me? Talk with me. What you know about God? Will he ride with me? Come and open my eyes for me. Hear my story. Show me more what's in store. And once more, listen, homie, can you walk? Can you walk? Let's walk.